Hare Krishna. First of all, we'd like to offer our respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, because of which we have this institution of ISKCON, and we have association of devotees where Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bodhayanta Parisparam, Tushyanti cha Ramanti cha, devotees come together and they discuss about Krishna, and that is a way of making advancement, and it's all been possible because of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I'd also like to offer my obeisances to all the devotees who have gathered here. Thank you very much, and especially to Mukharin Prabhu. It means a lot to me that you are here. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Vijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुञ्ज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुञ्ज विहारी ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं Together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Hare Krishna. Can we have the verse selected on the screen, please? 8:2:31. Srimad Bhagavatam 8:2:31. Okay, not the cat. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Itham Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam Pranasya dehi vivasho yadrichaya aparayam atma vimokshane chiram dadya vimam buddhim athavappadyata Itam Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya Aparayanatma Vimokshane Chiram Dadhya Vimam Buddhim Athabhapadyata Itham Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya Aparayanatma Vimokshane Chiram Dadhya Vimam Buddhim Athabhapadyata. Can we have a few chanters?
Itham Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam
Itham Gajendra Sayadapa Sankatam
Pranasya Dehi Vivaso Yadrikshaya
Pranasya Dehi Vivasho Yadrichaya
Aparayanatma Vimokshane Chiram
Aparayanatma Vimokshane Chiram
Dadhyava imam buddhimatha athabhyapadyata
Dadhya Vimam Buddhimathabhyapadyata. Anybody else would like to try?
इत्थं गजेन्द्रः स यदापसङ्कटम्
एतं गजेन्द्रस्य यदापसङ्कटम्
प्राणस्य देहि विवशो यदृच्छया
प्राणस्य देहि विवशो यदृच्छया
व्यपारयन्नात्मविमोक्षणे चिरम्
अपारयन्नात्मविमोक्षणे चिरम्
दध्याविमं बुद्धिम् अथाभ्यपद्यत
दध्याविमां बुद्धिमथावपद्यत
इत्थं गजेन्द्रस्य यदापसङ्कटम्
इत्थं गजेन्द्रस्य यदापसङ्कटम्
प्राणस्य देहि विवशो यदृच्छया
प्राणस्य देहि विवशो यदृच्छया
अपारयन् आत्मविमोक्षणे चिरम्
अपारयन्नात्मविमोक्षणे चिरम्
दध्यायो इमं बुद्धिम् अथाप्यपद्यत
दध्याविमां बुद्धिमथावपद्यत वैष्णवीस्
इदं गजेन्द्रस्य यथा सङ्कटम्
इत्थं गजेन्द्रस्य यदापसङ्कटम्
प्राणस्य देहि विवशो यत्र छाया
प्राणस्य देहि विवशो यदृच्छया
अपारयन्नात्मविमोक्षणे चिरम्
अपारयन्नात्मविमोक्षणे चिरम्
दधाव इमां बुद्धिम् अथाभयापद्यत
दद्याविमां बुद्धिमथाभ्यपद्यत One more.
इत्थं गजेन्द्रस्य यदापसङ्कटम्
इत्थं गजेन्द्रस्य यदापसङ्कटम्
प्राणस्य देहि विवशो यदृच्छया
प्राणस्य देहि विवशो यदृच्छया
अपारयन्नात्मविमोक्षणे चिरम्
अपारयन्नात्मविमोक्षणे चिरम्
दध्याविमां बुद्धिमथाभपद्यत
दध्याविमां बुद्धिमथावपद्यत इत्थम in this way Gaja Indraha, the king of the elephants, Saha, he, Yada, when, Apa, obtained, Sankatam, such a dangerous position, Pranasya, of life, Dehi, who is embodied, Vivashaha, circumstantially helpless, Yadrichaya, by the will of providence, Aparayan, being unable, Atma Vimokshane, to save himself, Chiram, for a long time, Dadyau, began to think seriously, Imam, this, Buddhim, decision, Atha, thereupon, Abhyapadyata, reached. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When the king of the elephants saw that he was under the clutches of the crocodile by the will of providence and, being embodied and circumstantially helpless, could not save himself from danger, he was extremely afraid of being killed. He consequently thought for a long time and finally reached the following decision. Purport. Everyone in the material world is engaged in a struggle for existence. Everyone tries to save himself from danger, but when one is unable to save himself, if he is pious, he then takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7.16. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukirtina arjuna artho jigyasurartharthi jnani cha bharatarshabha. 4 kinds of pious men, namely, one who is in danger, one who is in need of money, one who is searching for knowledge, and one who is inquisitive, begin to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to be saved or to advance. The king of the elephants, in his condition of danger, decided to seek shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. After considerable thought, he intelligently arrived at this correct decision. Such a decision is not reached by a sinful man. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that those who are pious, Sukriti, can decide that in a dangerous or awkward condition, one should seek shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Ajnan, we'll start over again. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nitai namene che namerhate shraddha mulya nam dite che re nitai namene che Namerhate Shraddha Mulya Nam Dite Chere. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So this is from the, can we have the verse back on the screen, Mataji, again? So this is from the second chapter of 8th canto, and as you might have guessed, we have Gajendra in there. So this is regarding the pastime of Gajendra, the liberation of Gajendra by Lord Hari. So in the first chapter of this canto, Sukadeva Goswami talks about the various manus. And in the second chapter, there is the predicament of Gajendra. And in the third chapter, prayers of Gajendra. And in the fourth chapter, the liberation of Gajendra. So just to understand how do we come here, we'll take a little bit of a retrospective. We'll go back to the first chapter. And so what happens in the first chapter, first of all, who is a Manu? Manus are, Prabhupada describes, they are the progenitors of mankind. In fact, the word Manushya has come from Manu and the word man as well. So, in the day of Brahma, a day of Brahma is called a Kalpa. And in the day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus. And each Manu has a period of 75 Yuga cycles. And by Yuga cycles, we know the 4 Yugas. The current Yuga that we are in is Kali Yuga, 5,000 years in. and a total of 432,000 years. And each of the previous years are twice of the age of Kali Yuga. So the entire Yuga cycle is 10 times 432,000 years. So that's just one cycle. And like that, we have 71 cycles. That's the lifetime of one Manu. So this is sort of a cosmic org tree. Like in a company, we have an org tree. So Manu is the head of the cosmic org tree. And then there is Indra, and different details are explained in the first chapter of how Manus are. And in fact, the names are also mentioned, how many Manus are there. So currently we are in an age of Manu, who is known by the name Vaivashvata Manu, because he's a son of Vivaswan. Vivaswan is the sun god. So all the names of the Manus who were previously, they are also been mentioned. So Vivaswan, he actually, his name comes in the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna says, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Abhyayam Vivaswan Manave Prahur Manur Iksva Kave Bravit. So the Manu here refers to the Vaivashvata Manu. He actually comes in the line of Lord Ramachandra. So Lord Ramachandra later appeared in under Ikshvaku, the Sun dynasty. So the reign of one Manu is 71 Yuga cycles. It's called a Manvantar. That is reign of one Manu. And so in the fourth Manvantar, so as Sukadeva Goswami is explaining all the various Manus who have appeared before, so the fourth Manvantar, Manu, in the fourth Manvantar, is known by the name Tamasa Manu, the son of Maharaj Priyavrat. In his reign is when this pastime happened. So Sukadeva Goswami mentions that the son of Harini and Harimedha, who is Lord Hari, he saved Gajendra from the crocodile. So Parikshit Maharaj is piqued by this, and he says, okay, I want to listen, I want to know what happened, what is this pastime about? And then that's when the second chapter begins, and where Sukadeva Goswami starts narrating the pastimes of Gajendra. So, Mataji, can we go to the advanced view, please, of this chapter? Can we go to the first text? I think you are in the first canto. You need to go to 8th canto. 8th canto, second chapter. So the second chapter begins with a description of, so we are rewinding back a little bit to the beginning of what happened, and this pastime happened in the higher planetary systems. So here Sukadeva Goswami said, my dear king, there is a very large mountain called Trikuta. It is 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles high, being surrounded by the ocean of milk. It is very beautifully situated. And for comparison, we know the height of Mount Everest is about 8,848 meters, or roughly about 5.5 miles. And this was 80,000 miles height. So this is the height we are talking about. His Vaisheshika Prabhu was once mentioning that he was traveling from Kolkata to Delhi. And if the situations are sometimes right, you're actually able to see the Himalayas. Huge, they are huge. And he was saying that for a long time, maybe 30 minutes or so, it was like he was able to see. So the fantastical heights that are mentioned here. So the length and breadth of the mountain are about the same measurement of 80,000 miles. It's three principal, can we scroll down? See? Three principal peaks, which are made of iron, silver, and gold, beautify all directions and the sky. The mountain also has other peaks, which are full of jewels and minerals and are decorated with nice trees, creepers, and shrubs. The sounds of the waterfalls in the mountain create a pleasing vibration. In this way, the mountain stands, increasing the beauty of all directions. The ground at the foot of the mountain is always washed by waves of milk that produce emeralds all around in 8 directions: north, south, east, west, and the directions midway between them. The inhabitants of the higher planets, the Siddhas, Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Serpents, Kinnaras, and Apsaras, go to that mountain to sport. Thus, all the caves of the mountain are full of these denizens of the heavenly planets. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, actually, he says, Yad Yad Vibhuti Mat Sattvam Srimad Urjitam Eva Va Tat Tad Eva Vagachatvam Mama Tejo Amsa Sambhavam. After describing his vibhutis, Krishna says that, know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring forth from but a spark of my splendor. So we see here, these are like such wonderful descriptions of the surroundings. These are all just a spark of the splendor of Krishna. That's what Krishna mentions. In fact, in the purport, one of these purports, Bhaktivinoda, actually Prabhupada writes this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung, Keshava Toya Jagat Vichitra. My Lord Keshava, your creation is colorful and full of varieties. Later we'll see here that how there are so many varieties of plants, animals. So Krishna has created this creation and he has filled this entire creation with various kinds of living entities. The other day, one of my colleagues, he was from Costa Rica. He was sharing some pictures of birds from Costa Rica, and it was amazing how there was I don't even know the names because I just saw the pictures. There was a bird, it was like a green with a yellowish tinge, and then there is a bird with indigo, and that's amazing how Krishna has created this magnificent creation. And here also, as we read, we'll see the creation around that Sukadeva Goswami is describing. It's amazing. 6. Because of the resounding vibrations of the denizens of heaven singing in the caves, the lions there, being very proud of their strength, roar with unbearable envy, thinking that another lion is roaring in that way. The valleys beneath the Trikuta mountain are beautifully decorated by many varieties of jungle animals, and in the trees, which are maintained in gardens by the demigods, varieties of birds chirp with sweet voices. Trikuta mountain has many lakes and rivers, with beaches covered by small gems resembling grains of sand. The water is as clear as crystal, and when the demigod damsels bathe in it, their bodies lend fragrance to the water and the breeze, thus enriching the atmosphere. So now we are moving on from a general description of the entire Trikuta mountain to a specific garden in that. It's called Ritumat. So we are zooming in. In the valley of Trikuta mountain, there was a garden called Ritumat. This garden belonged to a great devotee Varun and was a sporting place for the damsels of the demigods. Flowers and fruits grew there in all seasons. Among them were Mandaras, Parijatas, Patalas, Ashokas, Champakas, Chutas, Pialas, Panasas, mangoes, Amritakas, Krumakas, coconut trees, date trees, and pomegranates. Oh, we're not remembering a prasadam. There were Madhukas, palm trees, Tamalas, Asanas, Arjunas, Arishtas, Udumbaras, Plaksas, banyan trees, Kimshukas, and sandalwood trees. There were also Pichumardas, Kovidaras, Saralas, Suradarus, grapes, sugarcane, bananas, jambu, Badaris, Akshas, Abhayas, and Amalakis. I think we should have a quiz now for what were the names in there. In that garden, there was a large lake filled with shining golden lotus flowers and the flowers known as Kumudam, Kalhara, Utpala, and Satapatra, which added excellent beauty to the mountain. There was also Bilva, Kapita, Jambhira, and Bhallataka trees. Intoxicated bumblebees drank honey and hummed with the chirping of the birds, whose songs were very melodious. The lake was crowded with swans, Karandavas, Chakravakas, cranes, and flocks of water chickens, Datyuhas, Koyastis, and other murmuring birds. Because of the agitating movements of the fish and tortoises, the water was decorated with pollen that had fallen from the lotus flowers. The lake was surrounded by kadamba flowers, vetasa flowers, nalas, nipas, vanjulakas, kundas, kurubakas, ashokas, sirasas, kutajas, ingudas, kubjakas, swarna yutis, nagas, punnagas, jatis, mallikas, satapatras, jalakas, and madhavi latas. The banks were also abundantly adorned with varieties of trees that yielded flowers and fruits in all seasons. Thus the entire mountain stood gloriously decorated. I was just researching a little bit on, whenever I think it happened during when they first found the Titanic, when they dove down all the way up to the depths, maybe 5 miles or so under the ocean. So all of these marine biologists, they took this opportunity to go and find out, okay, the exotic varieties of living entities that are there, which are not yet been discovered. I actually looked up, there is in this Marine Life Wikipedia, and it says, I quote, as of 2023, more than 242,000 marine species have been documented, and perhaps 2 million marine species are yet to be documented. On average, researchers described about 2,300 new marine species every year. So that's the variety of Krishna's creation. But we learn from our Vedic scriptures, they mention Jalaja Navalakshani Stavara Laksha Vimshati Krimeo Rudra Sankhyaha Pakshinam Dasha Lakshanam Trimshal Lakshani Pashava Chatur Lakshani Manushaha. So they say Jalaja Navalakshani, Lakshana means 100,000. They says there are 900,000 species of aquatics. So it's already there in the Vedic scriptures. When we have knowledge that is coming down in a so there are two ways of gaining knowledge. One way of gaining knowledge is to endeavor, and then it's called ascending. There's an ascending process and there's a descending process. So the descending process is what that has come down from Guru Sishya Parampara, that's come down in a unbroken chain. So that is more authoritative. And here we see that it's already mentioned that we already know there are 900,000 species of aquatics. And the verse goes on to say plants and trees. There are 2 million species of plants and trees. Laksha Vimshati. Krimeya Rudra Sankhaya. So there are 1.1 million species of insects and reptiles. Then Dasa Lakshanam, which is like 1 million species of birds, 3 million species of beasts, and 400,000 species of human beings. So this is from the Padma Purana. So Padma Purana already states that we know exactly how many species are there. Someone could say that all the descriptions that we're reading right now here, they could be, they are fantastical. Like let's say an elephant is talking, or even Krishna doing all these various pastimes. So they may seem that they are fantastical. Yeah, they are fantastical. But not everything fantastical is false. So the dimensions that are mentioned here, 80,000 miles. So it's huge. So Prabhupada gives the analogy of a frog in a well. So he says that Mr. Frog, who was in a well, and then somebody tells the Mr. Frog that, hey, there's an ocean. And then Mr. Frog thinks, oh, ocean? How big is the ocean? Is it like my well here? So, no, the well is, no, it's huge. It's huge. And okay. Maybe 3 times the size of the well? Maybe, yeah, that's the, no. There's no comparison. Okay, maybe 100 times? No, it's huge. There's no comparison between the well and the ocean. So when there is information, Krishna is called Adhokshaja. Adhokshaja means who is beyond our senses, the transcendental, which our senses cannot fathom. So when there is information which is beyond our senses, then the Sabda Praman is, so 5,000 years ago, Vyasadeva actually wrote down all of these various sastras that were existing which were transmitted through oral tradition from guru to shishya, or from teacher to disciple in an unbroken chain. So he could see that the Bhagavatam actually starts with that. The sages they are saying that there are so many varieties of sastras that are there, and then there are so many varieties of literatures. Then people will get just confused. So give us the essence. So that's how Bhagavatam started. And then there is mentioned that the people in the age of Kali, they're going to have very weakened memory power. He says, Manda Sumanda Mateo Manda Bhagyahi Upadrita. He says that the people in the age of Kali, they will have very, their bhagya, everything is going down in the age of Kali. As we see, everything is slowly going down. I can't remember what I ate 2 days ago, or maybe I'll just forget where I left my keys, and so on and so forth, or when I left my multivitamin bottles or things like that. So, and then that's the reason which Sukadev Goswami, Vyasadeva actually wrote it down 5,000 years ago. And that's the reason we have all of this, and then we can actually read them right now. Sometimes people say that seeing is believing. So that's one form of getting knowledge, and that's called Pratyaksha Praman. Pratyaksha Praman means you take in what is what you are seeing, and then, but the problem with that is our senses are defective. So one is prone to commit mistakes. To err is human, as they say. So, and then there are other defects. One tends to cheat and things like that, etc. So with the instruments that one is making out of this defective senses, the instruments will also be defective. Suppose we made a telescope to view at astronomical events. Because our senses are defective, and then the instrument that is made will also be defective. So there is a chance we would not get perfect knowledge, or whatever knowledge we may get out of it may be sometimes dangerous. Maybe sometimes we will get something totally misleading. So when I was a few years of my life, I was working in a construction project, constructing power plants, and I was an electrical engineer there. So one thing that I noticed there, which is time and again in engineering, is there is always some tolerance. So what that means is, okay, let's say they place a beam, a huge iron ingot, and then they need to make sure that it is horizontal or it is vertical, whatever it is. They need to make sure that it aligns and it's properly made. It has the specs. If there's an earthquake or something, it is able to tolerate all of that. So now there is a QA, or quality analysis. So after the stuff is done, then somebody will come in and then make sure that, okay, everything is proper. So in that quality analysis, the engineer, he will always have some tolerance. Let's say they placed a beam, and then it cannot be more than 2 mm either side. You can have 1 mm this side or 1 mm that side. More than that will not allow. You have to redo the thing. So why is there a tolerance? The tolerance is because our senses are defective. We cannot always have exact. So I got to know also that no airplanes tend to fly in a straight line. Did you know that? That airplanes cannot fly always in a straight line. The reason is because there is always some disturbance in there which will cause a little bit push of this side or that side. And then the autopilot in flights, they actually always continuously they have to make some adjustments so that they can go in a straight line. Of course, there are crosswinds and this and that, but you always have to pull yourself back to the center. So we are trying to get some knowledge using our senses which are defective. So that is the reason. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is Adi 7:135. We don't have to go there. I'll just read. Pramanera madhya shruti praman. Pramanera madhya shruti praman pradhan. Shruti je mukhyartha kahe sehi se praman. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, although there is other evidence, the evidence given in the Vedic version must be taken as foremost. Vedic versions understood directly are first class evidence. Then in the next 136 it says, Jivera asti vishtadui sankha gomaya shruti vakye seidui mahapavitra hai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, conch shells and cow dung are nothing but the bones and the stool of some living entities. But according to the Vedic version, they are considered both very pure. And there is a purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to Vedic principles, bones and dung are generally considered very impure. If one touches a bone or stool, he must take a bath immediately. That is the Vedic injunction. Yet the Vedas also enjoin that a conch shell, although the bone of an animal, and cow dung, although the stool of an animal, are very much sanctified. Even though such statements appear contradictory, on the basis of the Vedic version, we still accept the fact that conch shells and cow dung are pure and sanctified. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that this conch shell and cow dung, they are actually in fact scientists have also found that cow dung has antiseptic properties, and a conch shell is actually bone of animal, but we just used it in Guru Puja where we blew a conch shell. So a bone is considered something not very auspicious, but the conch shell is considered auspicious. So this is the Vedic version. It doesn't change. In India, sometimes when there is a quarrel, people sometimes say, why should I listen to you? Is it like a line in the Vedas or something that I will listen to you? So the thing is, Vedas do not change. They're eternally the same. Whereas this inductive knowledge, the knowledge that one tries to gain by using one's senses, tends to change. I don't know, Pluto at some point, when was it, 2006? When we were growing up, actually, we had like 9 planets. We memorized Mercury, Earth, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. But then in 2006, okay, no, Pluto no more. It's not a planet anymore. It's in the Kuiper belt, and then it doesn't confirm to be a planet. So that's the thing with ascending knowledge. When we are trying to figure out the knowledge, then that changes. But Vedas, they never change. They're always the same. So another thing I want to bring out is faith. So in our life, you'll observe we put a faith in a lot of things. For example, when we take an airplane, we put faith on the pilot. So how many of us actually go and check and test? Hey, are you, I want to do a test of everything before I go get on the plane. It's not blind faith. There is well-reasoned faith because we know that there is an airplane industry, and in that industry there are various kinds of processes. There's robust training. There is a verification process that's in place that's already existing. When somebody comes and then they're able to find a plane. So similarly, in our life also, we need to do due diligence in figuring out whom do we get this knowledge from. So what is not recommended is blind faith. So well-reasoned faith, that's what is recommended. So at this point, I will like to share an article by His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu that he has written about blind faith. Mataji, can we have that cat one again, which we had in the beginning of the class on the screen, please? It's called The Cat in the Basket by Vaisheshika Prabhu. So, basically here, he is saying what one should not have. There we go. So this is a picture of a cat in a basket. If you can scroll down. Is everybody able to see? Okay. I'll just read it out. A cleric was once training his students how to perform a wedding. During the cleric's tutorial, a frisky cat who lived on the church premises repeatedly interrupted the proceedings by meowing and playing with the ceremonial items. To pacify the cat, the cleric asked one of his students to bring it in a bowl. Where was that? Yeah, asked one of the students to bring it a bowl of milk. After plying the rambunctious cat with milk, the cleric, a cat lover himself, stroked the cat until it became drowsy and fell asleep. Having accomplished his goal, he put the sleeping cat in a small basket in the corner of the room so that it might not disturb his teachings. Meanwhile, as the priest's students took notes regarding the details of the ceremony, they also wrote down the process for putting a frisky cat to sleep. A few years later, when the head priest was out of town one day, the students were working as a team to perform their first solo wedding. As they were about to commence the ceremony, however, one of the students, referring to his notes, cried out, "Wait, stop. We cannot start the ceremony without a cat in the basket." Some of the students fetched a cat, gave it some milk, lulled it to sleep, and gently placed it in a basket in a corner of the room. After this, the rest of the wedding proceeded. The students following the notes they had taken when learning the process from their teacher. And from that day forward, and to this day, the students in the cleric's lineage require a cat asleep in a basket to properly execute all weddings. The story points to people's tendency to follow blindly without seeking to understand why rituals exist or why theories are accepted as truth. Do you have any cat in the basket aspects in your life? If so, ask, what's their purpose? And what's my purpose, to see if you want to keep them. So this is the way of, one should actually be very careful. So this is one example of what not to do, what is blind faith. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. So the word guru actually means havi. And what is havi? Havi means havi with knowledge. So in the beginning of the class, we read Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. So what is the role of Guru? Guru actually signs, Prabhupada says, a torchlight. It's British English. In US, it's a flashlight. So he signs this torchlight of knowledge on the disciple so that the ignorance is dispelled. And what is the ignorance? The ignorance is described in the Shastras as avidya. Avidya means one has forgotten one's relationship with the Supreme. In one of the lectures, Vaisheshika Prabhu quoted this, that every living entity has a unique relationship with Krishna. And Krishna is looking forward to that particular devotee. He has a special, unique relationship with that devotee. So yeah, this is the avidya that Guru actually dispels. And so one needs to make sure, one needs to find out such a, like in fact, even when we study, we go to a college, we do our due diligence to find a teacher who has actually, he has studied under somebody, he has, like I remember, I took a OS concepts class in my college, and our teacher, Mr. Michael Swift, he was a renowned professor. He had many papers published in his name, and then everybody else in the college, they knew him, that he was a great teacher of, he knew what he's doing. Like sometimes we have these subject matter experts. We go, like you would go for a tax, you want to make your taxes, you want to do your taxes, and you go to a subject matter expert. This guy knows he knows the various things that are, or you might go to a lawyer when there is a complicated legal situation, then that guy knows exactly how to navigate. So Guru is, also in our scriptures, is described as Guru Karnadhar. Karnadhar means captain. So body is described as a ship, and spiritual master is like a captain. And an experienced captain can take a ship across treacherous waters. I remember I was reading, Indradumna Maharaj, when he travels a whole lot throughout the whole world, and I think it was in the Amazon jungles. He was taking a boat out and preaching to all the local villages there. So one night, what happened was the experienced captain of this boat was zigzagging in this Amazon river. It's like, and he was following a small, like a canoe, and it was like not going straight. He was just following the canoe this side, that side. And then he asked the captain, "Why are you doing like this? Why are you going zigzagging in this way?" And then he said, "Yeah, because what happens is these rivers, sometimes they have these mounts that come up, and the ship may go aground. It may just run aground there. But these local people, they know exactly which side to go, and these things change, they know. So it's best to just follow them, and then, so an experienced captain knows how to navigate treacherous waters. So that's the role of guru, and so one should find somebody like that. One has to find a person who has this knowledge, who has gained this knowledge in an inductive way, in a descending process, and then one can surrender. That's what Krishna says. Okay, we'll go back to our Mataji. If you can go back to the advanced view, please. "20. The leader of the elephants, who lived in the forest of mountain Trikuta, once wandered toward the lake with his female elephants. He broke many plants, creepers, thickets, and trees, not caring for their piercing thorns. Simply by catching scent of that elephant, all the other elephants, the tigers and the other ferocious animals such as lions, rhinoceroses, great serpents, and black and white sarabas fled in fear. The chamarate deer also fled. By the mercy of this elephant, animals like the foxes, wolves, buffaloes, bears, boars, gopuchas, porcupines, monkeys, rabbits, the other deer, and many other small animals loitered elsewhere in the forest. They were not afraid of him. Surrounded by the herd's other elephants, including females, and followed by the young ones, Gajapati, the leader of the elephants, made Trikuta mountain tremble all around because of the weight of his body. He was perspiring, liquor dripped from his mouth, and his vision was overwhelmed by intoxication. He was being served by bumblebees who drank honey, and from a distance he could smell the dust of the lotus flowers, which were carried from the lake by the breeze. Thus, surrounded by his associates who were afflicted by thirst, he soon arrived at the bank of the lake. The king of the elephants entered the lake, bathed thoroughly, and was relieved of his fatigue. Then, with the aid of his trunk, he drank the cold, clear, nectarian water, which was mixed with the dust of the lotus flowers and water lilies, until he was fully satisfied. Like a human being who lacks spiritual knowledge and is too attached to the members of his family, the elephant, being illusioned by the external energy of Krishna, had his wives and children bathe and drink the water. Indeed, he raised water from the lake with his trunk and sprayed it over them. He did not mind the hard labor involved in this endeavor. By the arrangement of providence, O king, a strong crocodile was angry at the elephant and attacked the elephant's leg in the water. The elephant was certainly strong, and he tried his best to get free from this danger sent by providence. Thereafter, seeing Gajendra in that grave condition, his wives felt very, very sorry and began to cry. The other elephants wanted to help Gajendra, but because of the crocodile's great strength, they could not rescue him by grasping him from behind. O king, the elephant and the crocodile fought in this way, pulling one another in and out of the water for 1,000 years. Upon seeing the fight, the demigods were very surprised. Okay, so here we see that Gajendra, he's strutting along, and then he goes into the lake, and is surrounded by his his wife and his wives and then children and his friends and everybody is there, and he's the king. He has his retinue. So then suddenly this crocodile. Crocodile is a water animal, and then the crocodile suddenly grasps the elephant's leg, and then he first immediately turns to his friends, whoever is around them, and they catch hold of his tail, and they're trying to pull. Nothing's happening, and 1,000 years have passed by, and then he says he's just struggling. That brings us to the predicament that we initially saw in the verse that we read, that Gajendra has tried for so long, and then still he's not successful. So Mataji will actually go into this verse, text 30. If you can click the verse. Is a very, very important verse. Tato gajendrasya manobalo jasam kalena dirghena mahana bhudvyaya vikrishyamanasya jale vasidato viparyayo bhut sakalam jalokshasha. So tata, thereafter, Gaja Indrasya, of the king of the elephants, Manaha, of the strength of enthusiasm, Bala, the physical strength, Ojasam, and the strength of the senses, Kalena, because of years of fighting, Dirghena, prolonged, Mahan, great, Abhut became Vyayaha, the expenditure, Vikrishyamanasya, who was being pulled by the crocodile, Jale, into the water, the foreign place, Avashridataha, reduced, mental, physical, and sensory strength. Viparyaha, the opposite. Abhut became Sakalam, all of them, Jala Okshaha, the crocodile, whose home is the water. Translation. Thereafter, because of being pulled into the water and fighting for many long years, the elephant became diminished in his mental, physical, and sensual strength. The crocodile, on the contrary, being an animal of the water, increased in enthusiasm, physical strength, and sensual power. We'll read a section of the purport. In the fighting between the elephant and the crocodile, the difference was that although the elephant was extremely powerful, he was in a foreign place, in the water. During 1,000 years of fighting, he could not get any food, and under the circumstances, his bodily strength diminished. And because his bodily strength diminished, his mind also became weak and his senses less powerful. The crocodile, however, being an animal of the water, had no difficulties. He was getting food and was therefore getting mental strength and sensual encouragement. Thus, while the elephant became reduced in strength, the crocodile became more and more powerful. Now, from this, we may take the lesson that in our fight with Maya, we should not be in a position in which our strength, enthusiasm, and senses will be unable to fight vigorously. Our Krishna consciousness movement has actually declared war against the illusory energy, in which all the living entities are rotting in a false understanding of civilization. The soldiers in this Krishna consciousness movement must always possess physical strength, enthusiasm, and sensual power. I'll just repeat for emphasis. The soldiers in this Krishna consciousness movement must always possess physical strength, enthusiasm, and sensual power. To keep themselves fit, they must therefore place themselves in a normal condition of life. What constitutes a normal condition of life will not be the same for everyone. Again, what constitutes a normal condition will not be the same for everyone. And Prabhupada goes on to say there are various divisions and so on and so forth. So yeah, what's important here is one must place oneself in a normal condition of life. So Vaisheshika Prabhu gives this example of what is this normal condition of life in terms of the environment. So we must always work on the environment that we place ourselves in. Like for example, like Vaisheshika Prabhu says that one votes oneself with one's feet. Just because one decides to come to a temple and listen to a Bhagavatam class or discourse or take darshan of deities and take association of devotees, one is placing oneself in a proper condition, in a better condition, that one can make further advancement. He gives an example of the California red-legged frog. So it was, if you have ever been to Maury Point, so that's a very nice place in the Pacifica, you'll find that there was a red-legged frog in California that became extinct. That was a threatened species. So I actually looked it up on ChatGPT, and this is what it said. The California red-legged frog, a threatened species, was the focus of habitat restoration efforts at Maury Point in Pacifica. Here's what was done to bring the frogs back. First thing they did was wetland and pond restoration. Beginning in 2007, the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy and the National Park Service restored approximately 33 acres of wetlands, grassland, and coastal scrub. This included creating 4 new ponds, specifically designed for the frogs to breed and thrive. The ponds are freshwater systems that provide essential breeding grounds. They support frogs' eggs, tadpoles, and juvenile stages, free from invasive predators like bullfrogs. Elevated boardwalks and trails were built to reconnect low-lying wetlands with upland grasslands, allowing frogs and other wildlife to move between habitats without barriers. These walkways also protect fragile pond ecosystems from trampling and erosion caused by foot traffic. With habitat restored, the red-legged frogs have re-established population in these ponds. And actually, you can see, after I heard this from Maharaj, I went and made a trip there, and I saw that there is a boardwalk. They have put play cards, and then they're explaining what is the red-legged frog and how it was restored. So he says one other thing: if you do not like what you are being subjected to, change the subject. So this is what we need to do. And he says that the way one can, so before one goes to bed, if somebody's goal is to chant a nice japa, then before you go to bed, you make the proper arrangements. You have your japa bag in one place, and then the various activities that you're going to do, you have it all lined up, and you have and in the morning, says when you get up, oh, who did all this? it's like all everything is ready. He says when he and his father used to take trips, like to go on a hikes or somewhere. So first thing they used to do is clean their house. And then he asked his father, why are we cleaning our house? We are not going to be in our house anyway. So then his father told him that when you come back, that is when you will you'll appreciate, because you're coming back to a house that is completely clean. So this is the power of the environment that one is in. At this point also, I wanted to share, like in the Japa class, we saw very briefly on some of the some realizations that Vaisheshika Prabhu had when he was going on Govardhan Parikrama. So I wanted to go a little more deeper into some of those. So we mentioned about sometimes even experts fail. So that was one point that we mentioned. So when one tries to practice Krishna consciousness, sometimes it may happen that there could be a place where he gives an example. I had seen this when I was in Govardhan. So one time what happened was we decided, I think Mukharan Prabhu was also there that time, we went on a Govardhan Parikrama early in the morning because there was something, it was I think 3:30 or something at that point. And so we had a class coming up earlier by Maharaj, so we left early, and there was not a lot of it was just a nice moonlit night, and we were walking, and then there was this nice soft sand right next to Govardhan, and then we went past Puchrika Lauta, which is the end of the Govardhan, and then when we reached the other side, that was roughly around 5 o'clock or so, 4:30, like that, 4:35, and that's when the monkeys woke up. Lots and lots of monkeys in Vrindavan. Govardhan monkeys are more mellow. So it's like you would be walking and there will be monkeys all around, and then you carve your way through the monkeys and you go through them. And then we went through, and this, as we were walking, there was suddenly a commotion in one of the trees. And then there were a lot of monkeys, and then monkeys, they like to jump around, and then they make a swing out of the branches. And then this one small monkey was like jumping around like that, and suddenly slipped. His hand slipped and boop, went on the ground right next to me, and I was like startled. What happened? And then before I noticed, that same monkey, 1 leap, 2 leap, 3 leap back there on the tree, right there. Within an instant, it was right there on the top, and then it was looking at me. Hey, what happened? what? what are you looking at me? So yeah. Sometimes even experts fail. Sometimes you will see, once in a while, you will see a monkey fall off a tree, and that's not unheard of. And as I was saying, I think in my hometown, I grew up with monkeys around. So there are a lot of monkeys. It would sometimes go the reverse. The monkeys are outside and we are inside. So we are caged and they are outside. So, and I used to observe them. They're so adept in like climbing a tree. They're just, or a 3-story building. They would just hang around, and this is what Maharaj said, that his realization here was life is a series of comebacks. So most of the time, he says there is a comeback every moment. Every moment. So every moment we are doing a comeback. And you just have to string together a series of comebacks. So this is the point that a very important one that I want to bring here is in our practice of Krishna consciousness. Yeah, if something happens, then don't worry. It's just make a comeback. We lose 100% of our shots that we don't fire. So yeah, just don't worry about it. Just dust yourself up and get back. The second one that we discussed also in the morning today was don't pause. And he gave this his realization that when one walks in Govardhan, so devotees out of love for Govardhana, for Krishna, they walk around many times bare feet across all over the Govardhan hill. So what he observed is, as you're walking, and then if you decide at some point, if one decides at some point, okay, let me take a small break, let me just sit for a second, and then, okay, I will, then what his observation was, if you sit for a while, it's very difficult to get up, because there is an inertia. There's inertia, like in physics, we have an inertia of rest. So there is a bigger force that is needed to get oneself up and running again than when it is needed. So he said, just don't stop. Just keep walking, keep moving. Even if you have to slow down your pace, that's okay. Just keep moving. If you have to crawl, that's fine. Just keep moving. So yeah, that's what he said is don't pause. So and even in the Padma Puran, he quotes Nam aparadha yuktanam namani eva haranti agam avishranti prayuktani tani eva arthakarani cha. The solution to inattentive chanting, the solution to offensive chanting is more chanting. So yeah, counterintuitively. So one can just continue one's process of Krishna consciousness. Don't stop, don't pause. And then the first one is, which is really nice, is to keep going. So as you are going on this Govardhan Parikrama, sometimes you will find that there are rocks which are hard. Sometimes there are pebbles which are really, they prick the feet. And sometimes there is soft sand. So, and then the sand, yeah, one of the devotees who was there with me, he was like, oh my God, this is so nice. This is like Johnson's baby powder. It's so soft. And then when you go the other side of Govardhan, it is like there is hard rock, they have concrete roads. It's like, okay, you have to be careful. And then sometimes they put all these small chips on the road that really hurt. So yeah, just keep going. Just keep going. And then that's what Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, that this is non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress. Just keep going. Tolerate it and keep going. Okay, so can we go back to the verse, Mataji, again? Actually, to the advanced view. Okay. 31. I'll just go. When the king of the crocodiles saw that he was under the clutches of the crocodile by the will of providence and being embodied and circumstantially helpless, could not save himself from danger. He was extremely afraid of being killed. He consequently thought for a long time and finally reached the following decision. So this was the verse that we picked for today. In the verse, you will see that Prabhupada talks about the 4 kinds of pious people who come to Krishna. And there he says that those who are pious, they naturally come towards Krishna. And then he thought for a long time, and then he came to this decision. The decision that we'll see in the next verse is, okay, my wife, my children, nobody can save me. Nothing's going to happen. Just I have to surrender to Lord Hari. So later we see that mrityu or death is actually inevitable. So actually Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Mrityu sarva haras chaham. As a form of death, Krishna takes everything. So what does mrityu mean for a devotee? Actually, there is a nice small snippet that I took from Srila Prabhupada's lectures. This is a story in the Ramayana. And Prabhupada says that Maharaj Dasarath, he was the father of Lord Ram. And then when Ram was a small boy, he was 10, 12 or maybe 15 years old. So he was paid a visit by Vishwamitra. So and then, so he said there was some disturbance in a forest nearby, and he wanted Lord Ram to go and help him there. And then when they met, so the king inquired from this sage, and Prabhupada quotes, Ahishtam yattam punar janma jaya. So what that means, is everything going well in your endeavor to conquer the repetition of birth and death? So this is the interaction that happens with very high-minded sages. They are not asked, like for example, if I were to go to a sales counter and the person generally helping them, they would greet you with, hi, hello, how are you doing? But then they would not care for a response. They'll go and carry on with what they are doing. And if you were to say, oh, really, I'm terrible today, and then they would say, thank you. And then they'll continue, okay, your total would be $20.20 or whatever. So, but you see here the interaction that's happening between two great sages. He was Maharaj Dasarath, he was the father of Lord Ram, and so they had this high-minded sages. The interaction that is of high caliber. So what I wanted to highlight there was this endeavor to conquer this repetition of birth and death. So I'm going to now Ishopanishad, the 17th verse. Vayur anilam amritam athedam bhashmantam sariram om kratosmara kritam smara kratosmara kritam smara. The translation, let this temporary body be burnt to ashes and let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Now, O my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices, and because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I have done for you. A section of the purport is what I would like to read. In this mantra, the living entity prays to enter the spiritual kingdom of God after relinquishing his material body and material air. The devotee prays to the Lord to remember his activities and the sacrifices he has performed before his material body is turned to ashes. He makes this prayer at the time of death with full consciousness of his past deeds and the ultimate goal. One who is completely under the rule of material nature remembers the heinous activities he performed during the existence of his material body, and consequently he gets another material body after death. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this truth. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajaktyante kalevaram tam tam eveti kauntaya sadatad bhava bhavitah. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So here's the important thing. Even if at the time of death a devotee does not remember his service to the Lord does not forget him. This prayer is given to remind the Lord of the devotee's sacrifices, but even if there is no such reminder, the Lord does not forget the service rendered by his pure devotees. And in this case of Gajendra, we see Gajendra was in his previous life. We will see this in the 3rd chapter. In this previous life, he was actually Maharaj Indradumna. And then what happened? How did he become an elephant? So in there, Sukadeva Goswami says Agastya had visited, and that time Indradumna Maharaj was actually, he left and he was in a state of trance. He was meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he didn't see sage Agastya, and he cursed him. Okay, you are being like an elephant. You are not not paying attention, so you become an elephant. So what we see is, even though there is a curse by the sage, we still see that the sage's curse is always good. Nothing bad happens. In one lifetime itself, Gajendra was relieved from his situation by Hari. And Hari actually, it's also, the crocodile is also another living. Crocodile is also given liberation. And actually, Maharaj, Gajendra actually gets Sarupya Mukti. He goes back to Vaikuntha. So we see how Krishna's, in Hindi they say, ek tir mein do nishan. What that means is, in one arrow you hit 2 targets. So Krishna does like that. His arrangements are super perfect. So I think it was Steve Jobs who said that you cannot connect dots seeing forward. You can only connect seeing behind. So what is Krishna's desire, and how Krishna arranges everything, how Krishna puts everything into place? It's mystical how things happen and how he does. But as they say, the windmills of the gods run slowly but exceedingly fine. So the way Krishna does his activities, it's all he has a plan. Let's just say he has a plan for everybody. So with this, we would like to pause here, and if there are any comments, questions, anybody has anything that you liked here, or any corrections, thank you. I'd like to share anything. Okay, we can go to the next verse. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Sorry, I didn't notice.
I have just a question. Like in the pastime, which we are just reading, the pastime is happening in the Trikuta mountain, right? So my question is, like, is it in the material planet only, or because it's been mentioned like denizens have been visiting there, so it's on Earth, or like?
No, it was in a higher planetary systems, and it was also not in this. It was not in the current age. It was like the previous Manvantar. It was actually 2. It was the 4th Manvantar. So currently we have Vaivashvata Manu, who is number 7, and before him was Swayambhuva Manu, and then before him. The name is mentioned, I think, later in Bhagavatam. But after the 4th is Chamasa Manu. So you just imagine there is like 71 yuga cycles happening in one Manu's age. So 71 yuga cycles passed, and then after that another 71, then another 71, and then now. So, yeah. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the wonderful class. And in that regard, to the heavenly gardens and the varieties of species, I have a question. So, from my understanding, we mentioned that there's 900,000 different kinds of species in the material world. And then I've heard there's 33 million different demigods. Why is there so many demigods and as opposed to different varieties of species?
Well, I believe so there is a cosmic structure, like in the beginning of the class we were discussing that there is a cosmic structure for the maintenance of the entire universe. So Manu, and under Manu there is Indra. So Indra is the king of the heavenly planets. So, and then he also needs various demigods to carry out, just like we have a president, and then under the president there is a secretary of defense, there is a secretary of, there's a Department of Homeland Security, then there is, various departments we have. So, so similarly, in the cosmic viewpoint also, there are various, there is an org tree, there is an org structure. And then we have Indra, Chandra, Varuna, like that. So they are all demigods. That is the 33 crore that you are saying. They come under that. So they're given a post. They're given a post to manage the affairs of the universe. So so Indra is also like it's a post. The current Indra, his name is I think Purandara, if I'm not mistaken, and he's given a post. And so Krishna, he has arranged that so that the government, just like he arranges, there is a mayor of a city, and then there is for a state you have so in charge of the head of the state, and then like that. So there is this 33 crores the people. So so that's basically the point that they have their own setup, basically. Yes, Prabhu, please. The microphone is coming right there.
This point was raised by many, people who criticize our faith. 33 million demigods. Is there any Shastric reference for that?
I am not aware of that. Anybody is? We can get back for that. So his question was, there are this 33 crore or million. Okay. So there's many varieties of people who were in charge. Is there somewhere mentioned in the scriptures or anywhere? That was his question. We can get back to.
So many more prison guards.
You were to use the.
It seems like we're supposed to be in the prison house, but how come there's so many more? Why is the number so? I mean, you explained it that they have duties, but it just seems a bit odd that there's so many times more demigods than living. Various species, yeah.
The species can be like the types of species, but then the number of I think there's a confusion. Yeah, the number can be more. Like a particular species can have more number. So if that explains. Okay. Yes, Prabhu, please.
Thank you, Prabhu. It was amazing to hear from the morning, and especially thanks for taking us to the Govardhan trip and taking the valuable lessons, and that you told about the pause, like how to take the pause and not take the pause, sorry. And in this verse we see that Gajendra took the pause for a long time, like he considered, he thought for a long time. So I had two questions, like when we had to think for the long time, and second thing was like Yadrikshaya, the one word has been used here, and I do remember that many places, even in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, this verse keeps coming, by the will of the providence. So till what time you fight, and till what time you just see that is a will of providence and let me just move forward. Thank you.
I will quote His Grace Srivas Pandit Prabhu. He was asked this question and then he said 3 times. Try 3 times. Because sometimes when the will of providence happens, it's like one time Guru Maharaj was asked this question, how do I know that something is not in my control? So things are, there is a circle of influence and there is a circle of concern. So circle of concern, how do I know I'm in there? I'm not, I'm endeavoring, but I don't know how do I know? And his answer was, you go, you break your head on the wall and you keep hitting, nothing's happening. So it's obvious that, okay, that's not in my control. So things which are not in our control, we can't do much. So yeah, just try 3 times and then we see, okay, if it happens, then otherwise it's providence. And then I think first thing you were asking that how long you should think. I think what I feel the best way is to mentors, to have our mentors, and then we talk to them, we ask them, okay, this is my situation, please help me. And then mentors are somebody who are like, they're heavy with knowledge and they have experienced the same situation. Like one time I asked Maharaj for a particular, and then for a particular help that I was having, a help that I needed. I wanted to ask for a particular situation. Then he pointed me, go ask this devotee. He has it all figured out. He is in the same situation. He has, he knows how to handle. And then he pointed me to that devotee to go talk to that devotee. So when we have devotees who are in the same situation as ours, they have figured out how to do, how to handle, and they know exactly how things are happening. So we should cherish and build relationship with such devotees, and then they will be able to tell us that Prabhu, yeah, this is the right thing to do in this situation, or this is what you should do in this situation, and they will help us out there. So then we don't have to exert effort on thinking what is the right way to do. So probably that's the one thing.
Thank you, Prabhu. It was very, very nicely you had prepared class and delivered from your experience and realizations and stories and taken us to your to your the engineering example that you told about tolerance. It was so relating how to have that tolerance in the, like how the things are not perfect in this world and how we cannot put faith in just in the pratyaksh praman, but how to take the shelter of the sabda.
And thank you for guiding us in Govardhan Parikrama. If devotees know, Mukharin Prabhu is one of the best guides. If you are in Parikrama, then he will take you to every place that Maharaj knows, and he will. And he was our best. He was the one of the. I cherish all the times that we had, Prabhu.
I had one question also, that faith that you brought also in the during the discourse about the faith in the talk, and before when we are doing the Mangalacharan prayers, the last one verse says that how Lord Nityananda is giving, just he has opened the marketplace and he's brought the holy name in that marketplace, and just by giving the faith he's giving. Can you please elaborate what does that means? Just by faith is the price that we have to pay.
Yeah, Shraddha Mulya. Tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam. One needs to have this desire to get this. Faith. I think that's the beginning. Like if we know, I think the various stages. The first stage is faith. In the beginning, one has some faith, and then one continues to act on that faith, and then tries to associate with devotees. So one thing when you were saying, I was remembering that Arjuna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says that Asita Devala. Asita Devala, and then he goes on to quote all the various sages who have said that how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he says, you Swayam Chaiva Bhavishyame, you yourself are telling me now that you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Prabhupada in the purport, I think he speaks about Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, even Sankaracharya. He says, Bhaja Govindam, Mudhamate. So he says that, you Mudha means you fool. you worship Govinda. So everybody else is saying, all the great sages are saying, and then and Krishna says, Bhava jnana tapasa puta madbhava mashrita, that following this process, many people have perfected their life and they've gone back home, back to Godhead. So this faith also is, first of all, yeah, like even if somebody has, let's say, blind faith on Krishna, it's still good, because at least somehow they will, but the Shastras always recommend to have well-reasoned faith. Like if you have a blind faith on the right thing, you're lucky. But if you have well-reasoned faith, that is what is recommended. That's why we have Shastras, that's why we have Krishna said the Bhagavad Gita, that's why Srimad Bhagavatam, and so the faith that there we get that faith from a devotee. Bhakta sanjayate bhakti. So Bhagavatam, it is said that when we are with a devotee who has that faith, and then that's how we get that initial faith. That when that's why devotees here go out on book distribution, that they get in touch with somebody and then that rubs off. The bhakti rubs off on that other person, and then they take with them that the experience that this devotee is having. They take that with them, and then they go home. They take the book and then they start reading, and then they become devotees. So this is how the faith, the transfer of faith happens. So that was my observation and realization, Prabhu. Thank you. Okay, so I think we are past the time right now. But was there any other comments, questions? Anybody? Thank you so much, Mataji. So I think, yeah, it was till 9:30. So we will end the session now. So should we have some chanting or something? Mataji, what is the next program? Announcements? Okay. So we'll end our Srimad Bhagavatam class here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. So we can next have announcements. I don't know if devotees are around for announcements for either Bhakti community or